Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Let me make sure that we opened up the audience here. We did. Welcome, everybody. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. As folks continue to trickle in, let's allow 1 minute for everybody to get situated, and then we'll dig right in with Lightning Motorcycle. Thank you so much for waiting. All right, we're about a minute in here. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we dig in, let's do a couple quick housekeeping items. Thank you so much for all the attendees for joining. As I mentioned earlier, we're here with the team from Lightning Motorcycle. As always, the company is actively raising on the Netcapital platform. You can go ahead and go directly to netcapital.com and search Lightning Motorcycle, or you can go to netcapital.com/companies/lightning motorcycle, or you can go ahead and select the link that I'm about to add it right now, that I just added into the chat that is built into Zoom. Super quickly, we do have a chat feature in Zoom. There's also a Q&A feature. Please do use that Q&A feature built into Zoom. It makes it so much easier to track all the questions as they come in, and we do want to keep this as interactive as possible. So please do ask your thoughtful questions, and please do so inside the live Q&A feature built into Zoom. Okay, with all that being said, I'm so excited. Please join me in welcoming Richard and JoJo as part of the Lightning Motorcycle team. Again, they're actively raising capital. Richard, why don't you start us off really quickly and tell us a little bit about what you're building here with Lightning Motorcycle?
Great, thanks, Eric. So Lightning is first and foremost an electric vehicle technology company. We've been involved in everything from fuel cell hybrid buses to airplanes to off-grid systems. But our mission is to revolutionize the motorcycle industry by providing our customers the world's highest performance electric motorcycles that feature lightning fast charging and provide an unequaled rider experience, something that you can't get in any other bike. Lightning technologies have been proven through winning prestigious international racing competitions against some of the best gas motorcycles in the world. And we've used our technology platform to set land speed records, which have exceeded 218 miles an hour. And all of that is using the technology platform that is the foundation in all of our products. Lightning currently has 3 different models in production available today, and we have 3 exciting new models in development. Our overall vision is that electric mobility is one of the keys to a sustainable future, and we're committed to making that vision a reality.
Absolutely. It's such an exciting journey that you're on, and you're already in market. We'll talk about those upcoming models and all the exciting things coming soon in a little bit. But before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about your background, Richard, and the rest of the team?
Sure. Let me start with the team. So we've got a very committed, passionate, and highly experienced team. So our head of software came to us first as an early customer for one of our LS218s, our very high performance bike. And he used that to commute on a daily basis to Apple, where he led the build out of the Apple Cloud system. Our head of electrical engineering was a pioneer in the commercialization of switch mode power supplies, really a foundational technology in electronics. Our head of sales was a successful Formula Atlantic racer, led the EV division for Borg Warner, and additionally was a test driver for General Motors Corvette development program. Our co-founder, Jojo Chang, has 15 years of experience in building complex enterprise supply chain systems, and also founded a company herself which developed a cloud-based ERP system. With Jojo's strong project management, she's tasked with keeping team alignment. And then for myself, I really started my entrepreneurial journey in my early 20s by opening a chain of retail stores. And I've been a serial entrepreneur since, building and growing businesses. And it included a software company as well as a commercial finance company that grew to have nationwide offices and more than 200 million in annual revenues. I've been an electric vehicle technologist as well as a motorcyclist my entire life. And that background really was the guide for me to create Lightning and focus on building motorcycles that, as a consumer, would be my first choice to buy and own and ride. One of the things that makes our core team really unique is that we all are engineers, entrepreneurs, a great deal of combined experience, more than 100 years of business, successful business building. We're all very passionate about building great electric motorcycles and 100% committed to our mission.
Absolutely, such a strong team that you've been able to accommodate or to kind of introduce into the product system here. And I think you're gonna need all those expertise, super critical. For those who are unfamiliar with how big this issue is, can you talk a little bit about the problem that you're solving, and then we'll dig into the solution as well.
Sure. So, the adoption of electric motorcycles has up till now really lagged behind electric cars. And that's really because, five fundamental reasons. The first is the performance of electric motorcycles previously was just much lower than gasoline motorcycles. The charging time was, in some cases over an hour, sometimes, several hours compared to the minutes it takes to refuel an ice bike. The range was far less than the ice bike. The product choices were less, and a comparable electric bike was much more expensive than a gas bike in the same segment. So overall, the electric motorcycle market was requiring consumers to pay more for a bike with lower performance and really a much less convenient. So our focus has been solving those issues. So Lightning's products are some of the highest performance motorcycles that you can purchase, gas or electric. They can charge to 80% in 10 minutes. Some have over 170 miles highway range. And again, currently we have 3 models on the market available today and 3 new exciting markets and models in development. And we're raising this round on Netcapital to decrease our bill of material costs, which will enable us to deliver bikes to consumers at significantly lower prices and really address that last issue of value against ICE bikes.
Absolutely, and you were able to build a bike that's not only fast charging, but also more powerful and higher speed. And a lot of that comes from your lightweighting technology. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So our focus has really to push the engineering as far as we can. So, we look at every component on the bike, and we do extensive finite element analysis. We look at different materials, niobium, carbon fiber. So, from our perspective, the enjoyment of a performance motorcycle is inverse to the weight. Heavier the bike it is, the harder it is to turn, to move around. It's just, you lose that agility of a really great lightweight bike. And that's been a big problem with a lot of the other electric bikes. I mean, some of them are almost 50% heavier than a similar gas-powered bike. So by, incremental engineering, looking at every component for weight and strength, using the best materials, we've been able to build bikes that, have similar weight to the gas-powered bikes that have more than 100 years to evolve to the state of technology that they currently have.
You mentioned comparing this to ICE motorcycles, which is the internal combustion engine for anybody who's unfamiliar with that phrase. Can you talk a little bit about the lower cost of ownership for a electric vehicle for a Lightning motorcycle versus for an ICE or an internal combustion engine motorcycle?
Sure. So gas-powered bikes, you have a whole series of different maintenance items that you don't have on an electric bike. You have oil changes and spark plugs and air filters and valve adjustments and clutches that wear and transmissions that can have issues. So with electric bikes, we really have an elegance in engineering. We have in the drive system one moving part, the rotor inside of the motor that turns on bearings. No friction, you don't have rings dragging on cylinders, no valves bouncing against valve guides and valve seats. So it's really electric motorcycles are in many ways far superior from our perspective than gas bikes in that you're using magnetism and electricity and you don't have metal parts rubbing on other metal parts. So the overall span of these bikes should be longer in normal use, significantly longer, and the overall maintenance is much reduced.
Yeah, so I think that's super impressive. So not only do you decrease that upfront cost that it takes, but you also get some cost savings over the years of operation, which can be really impactful in a customer's buying decision. For those who are unfamiliar about the market, can you talk about how large this market is? And I know there's a big international application as well as domestic. So if we could talk a little bit about how the rest of the world has adopted electric motorcycles, and then what you view the kind of the market here, what could look like, or does look like, and could look like in the future.
Sure. So a recent McKinsey market research report shows that the electric two-wheel market is projected to grow over 200 billion by the year 2030 and experience a compound annual growth rate of over 8.7%. So internationally, there are more than 600 million motorcycles in the world today. The US government has set the goal to have more than 30% of new motorcycle sales by 2030 be electric. And a lot of governments around the world have similar goals. It's a way that the governments can make a big difference in the daily lives of their citizens by helping to address pollution and global climate change.
Absolutely. And can you talk about how the three current models fit into the market? I know each of them kind of serves their own segment. Can we dig into the current three models? Then we'll talk about the future three models in a little bit.
Sure. So the first model that we brought to market is the LS218, and it's we tend to think about products in Tesla terms because Tesla is one of the early movers in the electric vehicle space. So our 218 is really a money, not an object, just what is the best, highest performance motorcycle we can build. So that's the bike that set the record at Bonneville Salt Flats, went over 218 miles an hour, won the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb against over 100 gas-powered bikes, including several teams sponsored by major OEMs, and then won the FIM World Championship race at Le Mans, France. And the main difference between the 218s that we're currently developing or in shipping to customers are, they have headlights, turn signals, all of the things required to make them DOT street legal, and they have more performance and higher power than the bikes that won the competitions and set the records. Secondly, we have our Strike C, which again we think in Tesla terms as a Model 3. It's a bike that the performance is more accessible for more motorcyclists, for those motorcyclists that don't need to go 218 miles an hour. It's a better value, still really exciting product. Similar again to the Model 3, and then there's the Strike R, which is the next step up in performance and lower weight.
Fantastic. So if you were to give so for the Tesla analogy, the Strike R, what would the corollary there?
So it's the dual motor Model 3 performance. So it's a significant step up in performance, but still delivers a great value compared to other offerings on the market, both gas and electric.
Awesome. And then that LS218, what is that, like a Model S Plaid, or is that a full blown I don't know, the Roadster? That's kind of, I don't know where you put that one.
Yeah, so the 218 is would be similar to a Model S Plaid, and we're currently working on a new one that we haven't released any information about it, but stay tuned. It will be the next.
All right, Richard, looks like we started to freeze up there. Can you still hear us? Um, sorry, looks like we lost Richard for a moment here. Let's see if we can get him situated again. Jojo, I see you on the screen as well here.
There,
Are you around? Oh, there you are, Richard. I can hear you.
Back now, Eric, can you hear me?
And we lost Richard, but I think actually that might help us. I think you might be able to leave and come back in, and that'll probably be the solution here. So everybody can just stay tuned for one moment. For those who are joining in, I guess I'll use this as an opportunity for a plug. If you might have missed the beginning here, we're on the line with Lightning Motorcycle. As always, they're actively raising capital on the Netcapital platform right now, and they have a really exciting platform. You should check it out. You can go to netcapital.com and search Lightning Motorcycle, or you go directly to netcapital.com/companies/Lightning Motorcycle, or you can select the link that I added back into the chat feature here, where you can go directly to the offering. You can review the offering page, learn more, and if you are so inclined, you too can invest and own a piece.
Eric, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, great. See
So
if we can continue. Yeah, we're having
yeah, no
some
problem.
issue here.
Yeah, yeah, but we can hear you great now. So we could see if we can get your camera on this link, and I can change it now. Oh, there we go. I see you coming back in here. And then I know where we left off was basically we're talking about this new model coming soon, so we could check on that. Let's see. Do you want to try to unmute the other one, Richard? Thank you for the attendees. Technological issues are par for the course. I appreciate your understanding. Of course, I appreciate your understanding.
Okay, how about now, Eric?
Yep, we can hear you from the correct line.
Okay, let's see if we get the video going again. Okay.
Looks like it. Looks like it. I'm surprised we're getting our feedback there. Testing.
Okay, how we doing?
Back on track, Richard. So we didn't even skip a beat. You were starting to talk about new models that are coming out, but you haven't released the information about those yet. But I'm not sure if there was something else you were sharing about that.
No, not at just that they're coming out and they should be. They're products that we are excited to have other people review when they come out. Can you hear me now?
We can,
Yeah.
yes. We can still see you. We can still hear you. You're great. Okay, perfect. So we could keep along the line there. So stay tuned. Make sure that you have your information shared with Richard, so you can be the first to know about these upcoming new releases here. We've covered market size just now. Let's talk a little bit about the revenue model. And again, I know this is really kind of sensitive information when you're talking about manufacturing companies. But can you talk a little bit about your revenue model, or what's the ballpark for the price of these vehicles, and then anything else you can share about that?
So our business model was evolved and grown in the different stages of our company. So in the first stages of Lightning, we did both EV engineering and battery R&D projects to generate revenue to help fund the company, extend our runway, and provide capital for the development of our motorcycles. After proving the bikes and the technology in competition, we then pivoted to low volume production. Our overall goal is to produce thousands of Lightnings in a complete spectrum of different segments. We're currently in the process of raising this capital on Netcapital to fund this increase in production, reduce the BOM cost, and bring the additional models out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for covering the revenue model there. Um, I want to talk about some of your progress to date and some of your next major milestones. But before we go there, I think when we talked about the team section, I don't think we were able to get into your advisors quite yet. And you've been able to assemble a really strong team of advisors, including Rob and James. Would you mind telling us a little bit about their backgrounds and how they help out with the Lightning motorcycle team?
Yeah, so ZZ Zimmerman, Rob Thole, Jim Cullen are all very successful business. Rob had built a company that did billions of annual revenue. Jim Cullen also has been very successful, and ZZ has been involved in software development from early smartphones through internet video. Again, and really at ground zero in Silicon Valley on software development through his career. We also have one of our advisors was Jamie Heineman, who was one of the stars of the Mythbuster group. And since leaving that franchise, his focus has been on really helping innovative companies move forward and solve problems.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to make sure, especially with ZZ Zimmerman and his background working with major companies like Apple and Microsoft and Netflix and a bunch of startups as well. I definitely wanted to make sure that we got them mentioned as well. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's continue along here with the questions. Please remember you can still use that Q&A feature to ask any questions. We want to make this as interactive as possible, so please do that. We'll continue to pepper those in. Let's talk about some of your progress to date before we get into your next milestones. I know you've had a lot of kind of really exciting pieces. You talked about the land speed record. You talked about the world championship. Can we cover some of the other, kind of major accomplishments and progresses up to date? And then we'll talk about, kind of what we're looking to in the horizon.
Yeah, so, when we look at Nick's major milestones and what we've accomplished so far, I think the big ones are really the bikes that we've developed that have great performance, great rider experience. They go farther, charge faster, have higher performance than virtually anything else, in their segments on the market. And then the 3 additional models that we'll be announcing in 2024. So our next major milestones, again, raising the capital, moving from CNC to forgings, castings, injection moldings, focusing on reducing the BOM cost, reducing the labor involved, increasing our production speed, getting more bikes out with a better margin at better prices to the consumers.
Fantastic. That's critical work for sure. And as we look to the future, can you talk a little bit about the competitive landscape in the space? Which players are here right now? I know we talked about them largely being kind of heavier and slower and less powerful, but but you don't have to name specific names, but within the competitive landscape, what does it look like out there?
So we see that, Lightning has a very exciting future. Again, our bikes charge faster, go farther, provide a better rider experience, more performance than virtually any other bikes in a similar segment. So we see that we are the technology leaders in the electric motorcycle market today. And when we look at the competitive landscape, we're not just looking at electric motorcycles. We're sitting at the main table and looking at how do we compete against the large OEMs. How do we compete against the gas bikes and the electric bikes the large OEMs will be bringing out? And they virtually all of the large OEMs are on the sidelines and really waiting to introduce any electric bikes. And there are a few reasons for that. One is the transition to electric will largely cannibalize their existing sales of ICE bikes, and that will force them to write down billions of dollars that they have in investments in ICE technology and ICE manufacturing. And this provides a great window of opportunity for us. And again, as I said, Lightning has a very strong core team. We share the passion and vision and experience to build the best electric motorcycles in the world. So, when we think about competition, we think about, how can we as a team get up every day, work on driving the product forward, and build bikes that are really difficult for anyone else to compete with.
That's fantastic. And before we keep going along that line and talk about your IP strategy and your defensibility, I want to pepper in a couple questions from the audience here. So what is the warranty on the Strike, and where would one get their bikes serviced, throughout the United States? They specifically are in Washington, but can we talk a little bit about the warranty and the service plans associated with these bikes?
Yeah, so we have a standard motorcycle, 24-month warranty on the Strike against manufacturing defects. As far as maintenance, we contract with local, very high performance motorcycle shops for maintenance. Part of what we'll do as we ramp the company up is build regional Lightning stores with maintenance. Also, for software issues, for upgrade, we can do that remotely by connecting over Wi-Fi.
That's awesome. And that is how a lot of these companies are doing that now on the software side, which is super exciting. That doesn't have to be a whole bunch of resources to build out that tech that exists. And then someone asked, so what is
Let me
the
add one thing
delivery?
too. A lot of the wear items can be maintained, virtually any motorcycle. So, the brakes wear a lot less than a conventional gas-powered bike because, the capability of using regen to slow the bike down. But chains and tires, forks and shocks, those are items that standard motorcycle technicians can address. And then key issues with the drive system, those would be addressed by Lightning technicians.
Thanks for adding those details. So a lot of it can be done from anywhere, and then some specialized items will stay with the Lightning maintenance team. And someone asked, what is the delivery lead time for a Strike bike at this point? Good question.
Currently, it's running between 60 and 90 days from placing an order to when we're actually shipping the bike.
Awesome. So you heard it here. Go ahead and put in that order. Might be able to beat the holiday rush. Okay, awesome. Love the questions coming in. Let's keep that up. Thank you so much. And then someone asked, could you explain the charging system for the bikes, specifically the Strike?
Yeah, so currently we have the CCS system, which includes both level 1, level 2, and level 3 charging. So, level 1, you would use a standard automotive EVSE. You could plug it into a 110-volt plug in your home, or if you have a 240-volt dryer plug in your garage, then you can plug into that. The speed limitation is really driven by how much power can you pull from the grid, through your existing system to charge. We also have level 3, which virtually, any of the public level 3 chargers that are available for cars can be used for our bikes. And we also have level 3 chargers that can be sold for the home or business if somebody wants to charge much quicker and not use the public infrastructure.
Awesome. Great questions. Thank you so much for that thoughtful answer as well. Continuing along the theme of the competitive landscape, can you talk a little bit about your intellectual property strategy? Are you kind of relying heavily on utility patents? Is this more of a kind of a trade secret thing, where we're just keeping certain pieces internal and not disclosing those? Just please, if you could give us a little bit of details around your IP strategy.
So we have filed some design patents. We have not gone the utility patent route. We're taking the trade secret route at this point. We are in conversations with attorneys about doing more utility patents. Um, but with the patent landscape, uh, at this point, we believe it's a more efficient use of capital to go the trade secret route and file other patents at a later point.
And on that note, in terms of defensibility and keeping other players from entering this market, are there certain things, and obviously we can't get too detailed here, but you believe that the trade secret helps protect you from some of those kind of institutional OEMs from coming into the market? And then do you think the design patents really kind of focusing on this beautiful design that you've come through, that help? Do you think that's really kind of the main emphasis on keeping folks out of this market for now?
Yeah, we think that the trade secret, um, strategy is the key right now. We do have a modular platform within the bikes that goes across the complete spectrum of what we're working on that allows us to scale the technology. Um, Part of I think what gives us a competitive advantage again is the team, in that we're pushing the technology forward, we're evaluating new technology, and because of how we have a modular technology, how we do our engineering in house. We don't rely on third-party vendors like the competitors or third-party engineering contractors to develop our core IP. As new opportunities develop, we can integrate that very quickly and stay ahead. And in transportation, that's a key. That we see that as a key advantage.
I feel like you might make a sale on this webinar right now. Can you talk about the price range for some of the bikes, specifically the Strike?
Yeah, so the Strike C starts at 19,988. The Strike R is 26,988, and then the LS 218, again, one of the highest performance motorcycles available is 39,888. And
Awesome.
again, what we're working on, some of the new products will be bikes that are in that 400cc equivalent range and 250cc equivalent range, as well as the next evolution of the 218.
Ooh, stay tuned. And even an evolved or V2 218. That sounds like trouble for the competitors trying to fight for that land speed record again. Um, that's fantastic. And we talked a little bit about, that was a nice little inside scoop on some of the upcoming major milestones. This part is a really, I think, an interesting question, but I don't want you to get stuck in a trap here. So I'm going to do a couple of quick disclosures. So we're going to talk about potential exit for investors here for a little bit for a moment in terms of exit strategy. The future is inherently speculative and uncertain, and so we do not expect you to know the future here, but what do you imagine in terms of exit strategies? How do you foresee that potentially going? And again, it's uncertain.
Yeah, so there are two fairly clear paths, and they're driven by how the market evolves. One would be Lightning would be acquired either as a group from a larger OEM. We've had a series of conversations which are ongoing with large OEMs in this area. And the second would be a public offering where the shares would be traded on one of the major exchanges. So I think both opportunities are very viable. And it's just a matter of looking at what is the best option for the shareholders as we move forward.
Absolutely. So options are available, but definitely thinking about it, and we'll definitely see as we get close to that moment. More questions coming in here. Will the battery ever have to be replaced, and at what cost? Good question.
Yeah, so the battery technology is, again, it's one of the areas where we have a great deal of experience. Some people ask, why do you do land speed records? Why do you do racing? That's become a calling card for us that opens doors to new technologies. So we're constantly speaking with other groups that have new cutting edge technologies. That's the cells we use in our 10-minute charge, came to us through that pathway. We're looking at some solid metal cells. Recently we had a conversation with a company working with solid metal cells, where they're saying that they should be able to provide those cells in the $30 to $40 per kilowatt hour range in the foreseeable future. And until something is here, we can't count on it. But we are testing these cells, and they are very exciting from a variety of different aspects. So yeah, the cells will typically last somewhere between 1,000 and 2,500 cycles, depending on how they're operated, how they're maintained. If you have a bike that has 150 miles, 1,000 cycles is 150,000 miles. And at that point, the bike will still have 80% of the original range. So it's dropped from 150-mile range to 120-mile range, still very usable after 150,000 miles of riding. And that's a long life for a lot of motorcycles. So the lifespan of the batteries, I think, is very good compared to the lifespan of a lot of the gas-powered bike components. And I think that there are very few industries in the world right now where as much money and as much research and really talented people are working on as the industry of energy storage. So, we're constantly hearing about new technologies, talking with engineers that are pushing the envelope of what's possible. And I think that electric motorcycles will continually benefit from this. Lightning will lead the charge on that, and they'll just get better and better.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that feedback. And that was a really nice deep dive into the battery technology. And I think we lose track sometimes of some of the underlying tech. And that's a super important piece of the puzzle there. And that does feel like, in terms of the components, like a perfectly reasonable lifespan for the battery power, for the battery technology. More questions coming in. I'm trying to direct them. Thank you so much, folks, for those thoughts. Okay, cool. Here's a fun one that I always like when we get. How can folks, obviously people know that they can go and invest. For those, who have already invested, how else can people help outside of the cash? Is it, obviously, I imagine, buying the product, telling their friends to buy the product, but what are other ways outside of, they already invested, they're part of the Lightning motorcycle family. How can they help besides just the cash?
Yeah, so as an early stage company, there are a lot of ways that we can benefit from, our investors and supporters. So recently, we were contacted by a patent attorney who is looking at making an investment and helping us do more intellectual property protection. We were contacted by a recent investor in Australia who's a champion motorcycle racer, and he'd love to bring some of our bikes and compete with them in the market, and help to show what's possible with people that have not had that exposure yet. We have investors that have been involved in different kinds of engineering. We have investors who've purchased bikes and before making an investment, and have done a great job of kind of carrying the message of what ownership of a Lightning is like. So again, we can benefit from a wide variety of help, and we definitely welcome that. I think everybody benefits from that.
I love that. And that's a big piece of what we're so grateful for at Netcapital is you, the community, the attendees on the line here, the way that you invest and support outside of your investment. Love to hear about the champion racer out in Australia. That's awesome. The patent attorney, the engineers. I think as a reminder that we all have extra benefits outside of purely our capital that we can use to support our investments. Thanks for that reminder, Richard. And somebody wants to do a little bit of a deep dive on that 10-minute charge technology. So can you briefly describe the 10-minute charge technology, and is it available now or is it under testing? Good question.
Yeah, the 10-minute charge technology is an option on all of our bikes. And so it is a silicon anode cell. And then, all of the complete balance of system required to be able to push that level of power into a battery. So that's going from basically 10%, 20% to 80% full in 10 minutes. Excuse me. Temperature has some impact on that as far as, you could charge faster on a 70-degree day than a 100-degree day. But, the 10 minutes is an option. It's available on the bikes now. And, we're peaking at over 120 kilowatts of charging. So that requires, again, the entire balance of system from the cells to the pack to cooling the pack, connectors, fuses, contactors, everything has to be capable of handling that amount of power.
Super impressive. I love that. I mean, that was one of the biggest criticisms of electric vehicles is the wait time on the charge, and focusing some energy on developing that technology is, I think, going to be a real kind of strategic benefit, strategic advantage for Lightning Motorcycle over other players in the space.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're riding with your friends and they have gas bikes and they pull up and top off the gas in 5 or 10 minutes, and you want to be able to say, hey, I'll be there in 10 minutes as well, and we'll continue the ride. If it's just not convenient to wait an hour, 2 hours or more, if you're riding with other friends.
Absolutely. And there's a big, kind of camaraderie around motorcycle riding. So I definitely imagine that's an important piece of the puzzle. Okay. Well, thanks for all those thoughtful questions. Really like the way that we went on that direction. As we wrap up here, Richard, would love to ask this last question, kind of closing remarks. Can you tell us why now is the perfect time to go to Netcapital and invest in Lightning Motors? So I know we covered a lot of really exciting things here, which you've already been able to accomplish, which you're looking forward to in the future. But if you were to kind of summarize a little bit, 3 to 5 points, why is now the perfect time to go to netcapital.com and invest in Lightning Motorcycle? And actually, I just saw one more sneaky question came through as well. So actually, I'm going to have a pause on that one. That is definitely the last question. Let's sneak this one in and we'll come back to that. So what is your plan for service centers? This is actually a good one. I know you have a plan for this. What are you seeing as a percentage of bikes that need service in person so far? Really good question.
So service centers will be a combination of Lightning regional service centers that we'll build out, and then Lightning trained independent service centers that we'll contract with. The service up to this point has been, as far as any major items on the bike, has been pretty small. There have been some small kind of teething pains on some switches, some software updates that we've needed to do. But the battery packs, the drive systems, the chassis, all of the core motorcycle components have been really robust at this point.
Super, super exciting there. Thank you so much. Sorry. And that was specifically with regards to North America that they were asking about. And I think that your answer was largely referring to the North America region. Is that right, Richard? Sorry, I didn't share that
It
earlier.
is. And then internationally, we've been contacted now by 120 international distributors who want to represent us in different geographic areas. So those conversations are ongoing. As we solve the issues of ramping up our production, we will engage and choose who's best, to represent us in each of those areas. And we're excited. I think that from a marketing perspective, that's going to allow us to ramp very quickly as we're able to fill those demands.
And on the offering page, you talk a little bit about other international regions that this technology would probably get some good use in. Are there some specific regions that you're most excited about? I know you definitely have, you're kind of from Asia to Europe to America on your offering page. Can you talk a little bit about which international regions you're most excited for Lightning Motorcycle?
So currently, we see a lot of opportunity in India and in Southeast Asia. There's a lot of push from the government in India to clean up the emissions from two-wheel vehicles. So in India, motorcycles are one of the primary forms of daily transportation. And, the average motorcycle, in that market has higher emissions than the average car. Um, so we see, India is a great opportunity. We have some great partners there that we're in discussions with. I think more motorcycles are currently built in India than anywhere in the world. And it's just an enormous market. One of our major investors is the largest producer of electric two-wheel vehicles in China. That I think is going to be a great opportunity for us as we move forward as well. And then Europe is a great market for technology and for high performance electric motorcycles.
Love that. Thanks for sharing that, Richard. Okay, I'm glad we were able to get that in there. Great question from the audience. Okay, let's go back to those closing remarks if we can. We'll see. I'm gonna ask this nice and slowly in case somebody else wants to sneak a question in. But why is now the perfect time to go to Net Capital and invest in Lightning Motorcycle?
So first of all, we're the technology leader in electric motorcycle market today. Our bikes charge faster, go farther, provide a better rider experience than virtually any other electric motorcycle. And then secondly, this transition to electric motorcycles is happening now. It's not a question of, if it's going to happen. From our perspective, it's only a question of how fast will it happen. There's a great window of opportunity right now. And then third, Lightning has the team to make this happen. We have the experience, we have the passion, we have the engineering talent, and and again, the focus to build the best electric motorcycles in the world. This is what we get up every day in the morning excited to do. So we see a very, very bright future for Lightning. And, we welcome everybody in the Net Capital community to join us on this ride and go with us and help build this.
Well, I want to thank you, Richard, for allowing us to have the opportunity to join you along this journey. I think it's going to be a fantastic ride. Thank you so much for the attendees on the line here who asked the questions, very thoughtful questions that came through. Final reminder, like always, this company, Lightning Motorcycle, is actively raising capital on Net Capital. You can go to netcapital.com and search Lightning Motorcycle, or you can go directly to netcapital.com/companies/Lightning Motorcycle. Or if you are in the Zoom, you can select the link that I added to the chat, and that goes directly to the offering page where you can learn more, and you too can invest if you're so inclined to. And lastly, before we wrap up here, as always, this has been recorded. We will go ahead and upload that to the Net Capital YouTube account shortly. I just added a link to that. So if you missed any of this webinar, or if you know someone who you think would be interested in learning more, feel free to check out our YouTube account in the next day, a couple hours or day or so. You'll see that video there. You can share that with them. They can learn more and they too can invest. So I went ahead and added a link to our YouTube channel there. Go ahead and check that out if you missed anything. So lastly, just again, thank you so much for everybody for attending. Thank you so much for your thoughtful questions. Richard, Jojo, thank you so much for joining us here on the line here to talk about Lightning Motorcycle.
And Eric, thanks for hosting this and helping to get the message out.
The pleasure is all ours. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Goodbye.
Bye now.